The Undertaker passing the torch down to Bray Wyatt wasn't the only torch passing that went on in WWE. You also have what I've just observed recently, a torch passing between Brock Lesnar and Gunther. And we really need to talk all about it when it comes to burying and pinning and allowing black wrestlers to lose on a constant basis. I'm your host, Cool Colas, and you are now tuning into a new video on my channel. So let's get into it. Before I get all into this topic, I just wanted to let y'all know that the tinfoil kufi is on real strong. I wanted to give my quick observations on something that I noticed when it comes to the treatment of black wrestlers in WWE. For those of you all who have been watching WWE as of recent, they've been doing this The Last Time Is Now tournament to see who was going to be the person to face John Cena as his last opponent. And one of the things that's happened recently is one of the matches came down to Carmelo Hayes facing Gunther. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this particular match up is because I noticed something about the Gunther character and what they're preparing him to do. If you didn't see the match, Carmelo Hayes lost to Gunther. And I saw this coming, and I think a lot of people saw this coming as well too, but he lost. And one of the things that made me realize is that WWE is preparing Gunther to have a legacy that's somewhat similar to Brock Lesnar's. What a lot of times they do in WWE and in sports in general is this great white hope trope. And this is something that I see going on as well too, and it's gone on to a certain extent with Brock Lesnar. A lot of times they'll have these black wrestlers who are super talented and they'll overcome all odds, including racism, and they'll finally get some type of championship bout or a championship run to some extent. And they unceremoniously have some big old white boy who's supposed to be strapping take down that black person like it's a slaying of the beast type of ritual. The great white hope trope is a well-documented trope. And just to give you some examples, you had the Jack Johnson situation where he was no longer in his prime as a boxer and he was defeated by a white boxer who was in his prime. And then the Dominant Society made a whole movie about it and made a big deal about it. And then another example would be the Jake Paul and the Mike Tyson situation. So a lot of times you have it where the Dominant Society has this belief that a win is a win no matter what way they're able to get it. So they don't care if that black person they're taking down is someone who is geriatric, someone who is feeble, or is a child. If they can get a win over someone black, they will celebrate it like it was an actual fair match. Now, in the case of WWE, they operate kind of similar to that, but they have a slightly different style that they use when they have this trope. So generally what they do is they get a big strapping white boy, right? And they have him be this beast slayer, this person who just takes down this black person who has presented themselves as some type of prodigy. Again, somebody who's overcome all the odds. Now, in the case of WWE, you have Brock Lesnar, who a lot of black wrestling fans know has been known to be the person who was the fall guy for taking down a bunch of black male wrestlers. And that's why Brock Lesnar has taken down so many black champions. I mean, think about how he took down The Rock. Think about how he took down Big E. Think about how he took down Kofi Kingston. And Kofi Kingston was the worst of it. I mean, that shit was downright disrespectful. And it was also embarrassing, too. I mean, Kofi Kingston lost to Brock Lesnar in 8 seconds. And there's another thing that I noticed too that they like to do with Brock Lesnar and black wrestlers losing to him. I noticed that they like to do this thing where they don't give them a rematch either, even if it was an embarrassing loss. When Brock beat The Rock, they didn't give him a rematch. Now, there'll be some of these male supremacists who will go and they'll say, well, dude, they were going to give him a match at WrestleMania, but he got injured, dude. But the reality is that that's just an excuse because, again, they always talk about women avoiding accountability, but nobody avoids accountability like the white supremacists. Because if they wanted to give these stars a rematch, they would. But they don't do that because anytime they want to put the belt back on their great white hope, they love to give them a rematch later. I mean, think about what they did with Jey Uso. When Jey Uso got the World Heavyweight Championship from Gunther, they turned around and they took it off of him with Gunther. Now look at the match with Kofi Kingston. He loses in 8 seconds. He doesn't get a rematch. And even in the Royal Rumble, if I recall correctly, I think Brock Lesnar threw Kofi Kingston out of the ring. And then with Big E, he didn't get a rematch either. So they're selective about who gets rematches and who doesn't. So although they got rid of the rematch clause, they're selective of when someone who they actually want to be a champion can fight for the belt again. And then when someone who they don't want to get it doesn't get any type of rematch, they just go away. And most of the time when this clause is shifty and all sort of stuff, it involves somebody who's black. My point in making that statement is, it seems as though there's a pattern between the way that they're writing Brock Lesnar's character to squash black wrestlers and what they're starting to do with Gunther's character. And I know there's a bunch of you racist, mayonnaise-eating, white supremacist fans who are watching this and you're saying, well, Gunther only beat 2 people who were black, dude. But here's the reality. He's beat more than 2 black people. And there's been no black people who have beat him for anything that's actually significant. I mean, think about it, y'all. Carmelo Hayes lost to him. Javon Evans lost to him. Kofi Kingston lost to him. So, I mean, you look at that and the reality is 2 foundational black Americans lost to him. But more than 2 black people lost to him. And I've told y'all before, I have a rubric and it's called the AIR method, the AIR method, if you want to call it that. I don't care. The anti-black identification rubric. And what this means is that the first time that something happens, it's a potential accident. The second time something happens, it's a potential coincidence. And the third time something happens, it's considered a pattern in practice. And I'm going to say 3 or more because if it happens more times, then, I mean, there the hell you go. Now I want to talk specifically about the Gunther and Carmelo Hayes match. One thing that I noticed is that the WWE loves to do this agenda that I would call the Consolation pacification agenda. And what that is they love to give black people these very bare minimum accolades or achievements in order to pacify an audience to make it seem like they're not racist. But they don't give them anything that's very major to stand on, let alone a pattern of them winning championships. And some, again, male supremacists who are watching this from their trailer park while scratching headlights out of their head will go and they'll say something to the effect of, well, they didn't earn it, dude. They didn't earn it. And the reality is that these black wrestlers are usually more talented than any other wrestler that is on the roster. And what's funny about that too is when you think about people not earning it, think about all the nepotism and all the ass kissing and all the things that they probably did behind the scenes that we're not going to talk about today that got them in the position that they are in and turned them into big stars. And when I say they, I mean they're white and even in some cases non-black stars. But let's talk about the black stars for a minute, specifically Carmelo Hayes. If you look at Carmelo Hayes, this man, as I said before, has not just been performing well, he has been overperforming. And not only that, every single opponent he has, the match ends up spectacular. And the reason why is because of Carmelo Hayes. Because this man is a spectacular wrestler. I mean, even in the match with Gunther, he made Gunther look good. But going back to my point about the consolation pandering that I was talking about, or consolation pacification, one thing that I've noticed is that they like to do this thing where they know that they're about to fail a black wrestler again. So instead of just continuing that trend of having them lose all the time, take pin after pin after pin. They may have sometimes where they might let them win something real quick and they'll try to boost it up. And that's exactly what they did with Carmelo Hayes. Because notice, when he beat Bronson Reed, everybody was on the internet saying, Carmelo Hayes did something major. He did something major. He actually got a win. He actually got a win. And they were acting like they were boosting him getting some type of championship win. And I'm like, what kind of shit is this? All he did was beat a big sloppy ass dude named Bronson Reed, who literally flip-flops his gimmick every 5 fucking seconds. Whoop-de-fucking-do. And to be real, his win was based off of Cody Rhodes putting him back in the ring and getting a count out because he was pissed off with Bronson Reed. So there was nothing that was spectacular about that. But everybody on the internet was like, yippee, he won! He won! Look, it was great! He did something cool! And I'm like, this ain't shit. What they also like to do with this consolation pandering or pacification gimmick is say, oh, he gave it a good old try. So what they'll do a lot of times is they'll have it where this black wrestler is actually doing pretty well against a certain white wrestler, and then they'll still lose. So it'll be a thing of where these, again, mayo eating fans will go around, they'll see this and they'll say, oh, well, everybody just did a good job. He just lost this time. So that black wrestler can just spiral into a whole lot of nothing. And the reason why they did that is because they were trying to boost this up so that they could let him down when Gunther was going to put him in the damn sleeper and beat him. That's the reason why they did this shit, because they knew at the end of the day that this was going to be yet another loss for Carmelo Hayes. So in order to balance the scales a little bit so they don't look racist, although we know they're racist as hell, what they did was they had him look like he was doing something that was important just to drop him on off when he was facing Gunther. And that's just the bottom line of it. And can I just say something that a lot of people just really don't want to say, like something that's somewhat off topic, but I just got to say it. I don't see the hype in Gunther. I don't see what the big deal about him is. I don't think he's that great of a wrestler, and most of the feuds that I've seen with him are kind of boring, to be honest with you. It's almost as if his opponent is making the feud a little bit better. But regardless, my point in saying all this is, I don't really see the hype. Gunther is nothing more than Brock Lesnar Temu version with pierogies and schnitzel on top. And that's it. I mean, he's just an arrogant bully, and that's really all it is to it. His promos all kind of sound the same. I'm not saying they're bad, they just all sound the same to me. And then he's kind of flabby, and his moves don't even look that great to me. And a lot of people are like, well, it's his look, dude. It's his look. No, you're adding the fact that he's European in on it, and they're trying to hype that up in some way and that he's tall. But the reality is, he's really not that spectacular. So I don't really get this obsession with hyping up this European white boy as if he's the next Brock Lesnar. If you really wanted the next Brock Lesnar, quote unquote, you really could have just hyped up Bobby Lashley as that. Because that's basically what Bobby Lashley was, except he was better than Brock Lesnar as a wrestler. Don't get me wrong, y'all. I actually like Brock Lesnar as a wrestler. But I think this needs to be called out because I see a lot of times where something is happening early and nobody calls it out. And then somebody tries to backtrack later all the stuff that happened in the past. I'm seeing a pattern, y'all. The way that they were doing Brock Lesnar's character is the way that they're starting to do Gunther's character. Because again, I don't see what's so special about him, but they're acting like he's supposed to be this big white boy trendsetter. Because again, he's now even about to be the person who might be retiring 2 stars at this point, because he retired Goldberg and it looks like he's about to retire John Cena as well. My point though, like I said, is black wrestlers need to be treated better, and they don't need to be used as fodder to fuel boosting up a white boy who really ain't all that. And for those of y'all who are walking around talking about some Vince isn't as bad as Triple H was, listen, this is proof that Vince McMahon and Triple H have similar patterns of the way they behave, because the Brock Lesnar thing was happening underneath Vince McMahon, and this Gunther thing I'm talking about is happening underneath Triple H. A lot of y'all think that the grass is greener on the other side, but a suspected white supremacist is a suspected white supremacist no matter what way you cut it. They just may have different methods. In the case of Triple H and Vince McMahon, one is simply telling you, go in the field and pick my cotton, nigga. And the other one is saying, use a house, nigga. And that's just what it is. And for those of you head lice scratching, mayonnaise eating, meth using white supremacists who are sitting around and saying that race conversations don't matter, then my only question to you is, then why the hell are you getting so fucking defensive just because I'm bringing up the fact that there is a race issue? If it didn't matter, if it's not that serious, if it shouldn't be talked about, then why the fuck do you always try to defend the shit when I say that it's an issue? If it really isn't that serious, then just ignore it. But a lot of you all are going to be bitching in my comments behind a picture of SpongeBob. Anyway, y'all, that's all I had to say about this topic. I definitely will have more to come. I just wanted to make this quick video. For those of you all who are watching this video, I would love it if you like this video, subscribe, share, and also hit the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever I come out with new content on this channel. And then when you are finished watching this video, I love it if you left me a comment below. That way I can get back to whatever it is that you had to say about this topic. Other than that, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace out, y'all.